Nintendo 64 Funtime.
Good morning, YouTube, and welcome back to another episode of Nintendo 64 Funtime. Today I got a pretty good episode for you, and the reason why I started thinking about this episode is because I'm a huge game history type of person, and what made me think about this game was the Sony DualShock controller. Now, I play most of my games through my PlayStation 2, so I don't have my actual original Sony controllers, but these are the same, the DualShock controllers. This came out in about 1998 in Japan, and this was kind of a big deal because this was the first controller that actually had two sticks. The first game that I can remember playing with the Sony controller specifically is Ape Escape, where you use the two joysticks simultaneously. And it was really trying to figure out what it was going to do with the two joysticks. Now we can't even imagine a controller without the two separate joysticks, and we're so good at using our fingers to not only move our player, but to also look around with that as well. But back when 3D games were getting popular, this was actually kind of a confusing thing. How can I look around appropriately with just a single joystick? And the reason why I'm talking about this is because we're actually playing a Nintendo 64 game. Now, it had a singular joystick, and games like GoldenEye implemented it very well, where it kind of had somewhat of an auto aim. You looked, and it looked very fluidly. You could also strafe with the C buttons, but you didn't need to. You didn't need to be able to use the C buttons. If you were really good, you could strafe around, and it was very, very you had the advantage of doing that, but it played very well with a singular joystick. Now, the game that I'm going to talk about today and play today is a game that actually required you to use the C buttons similar to what you would use them as a joystick for, where you look around with your C buttons and you use your joystick. I had that backwards, I'm sorry. You move around with your C buttons and you look around with your joystick, similar to like you were playing a dual stick game. Now, the GameCube controller ended up implementing the C buttons into just using the C button as a stick, but the Nintendo 64 didn't do that, but it was shaped where you could put your finger in there and actually rotate them around pretty good and actually use it almost like a second stick. The first game that I can remember that implemented this really well and required that for the Nintendo 64 is Turok. This came out in 1997, so it was about almost half a year after the Nintendo 64 came out. But I would always rent this game a lot, and I actually really enjoyed it. I never would really get very far because I didn't have a memory card for the longest time, and this game requires a memory card and quite a bit of space on the memory card. But let's just get playing Turok. I'll talk a little bit more about it, but let's go. Alright guys, here we go. A little bit of finishing it cold, so no big deal. Now, really, when I always play this game, I would literally enter the codes, that way I could have all the guns right away. You know, sometimes that makes it the best. I'm not going to do that today. We're just going to try to get through the first level. You know, one thing too, I love my EverDrive. I love my EverDrive a lot. I love to play on this thing, especially to preserve my save states. But if there's some way where somebody can make a larger, more reliable memory pack for the Nintendo 64, I would buy that so quickly. Because third-party ones suck, they fail. And these Nintendo ones are expensive, and they don't hold very much. Like, literally, you almost need an entire controller pack just to play Turok. You know, with the EverDrives, if it requires a save pack, you can't use it. So that's my thing. If anybody can make a controller pack, a reliable one for the Nintendo 64 that holds like every single game, I'd love you for it. Anyway, here we go. So again, we're using our C sticks to move forward, to control our character, and then we're using our joystick to look around. So like I said, this is the first game I ever had that I rented that implemented this, and it was so weird. It was so awkward. Let's see, I know there's a gun around here somewhere. Hang There we go. It was so weird. It was so awkward. I didn't know really what to do when I first started playing this game. But like I said, you eventually got used to it, and it felt good to do it that way. And like I said, now you couldn't even imagine trying to not use one. And that's why sometimes the Nintendo 64 games are so awkward to come back to, because, yeah, blood spurting out of his neck. Because you can't control the camera angle, you're using your joystick, and it's moving the camera around at the same time. I don't know, it's weird. So, point of Turok, we're going around, we're finding level keys to get to different levels. I don't know how many levels there are. I've only really gotten to about, the 4th or 5th level in this game, and that's even with cheating and codes and stuff like that. Ooh, weird, no reloading. I almost instantly want to hit the B to reload. You just got shelled and you just keep firing. Now, one cool thing I figured out in my capture card is I was really having issues with the frame refresh and the line doubling and stuff like that. OBS is what I use to record footage, and I found out that I can actually take those scan lines away, and it's actually recording very, 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 very well. I'm very pleased with that. I don't know if I can add scan lines in there. I'm assuming I can. It's really smoothed out, so it doesn't really give you the same... I don't know, the edges look pretty good. It's a little bit softer on my CRT TV because, the scan lines really kind of smooths it out pretty good, but... And this game feels so good to come back to. GoldenEye, I don't know if you guys have played GoldenEye recently, but it's a little bit awkward to go back to because of just the single joystick, but this one's pretty intuitive. Now, this game was actually only for the Nintendo 64 for a long time. This actually did get a port to PC about 6 months later, but this was exclusive for the Nintendo 64, and I think that goes the same for the second one as well. And then the third one, I believe, was also only for Nintendo 64. Game looks pretty good too. I mean, believe it or not, this game is only 8 meg. I think this is the lowest most of the games went, was 8 megs. So for how vast this is and how, the textures are soft, but it looks pretty good for an 8 meg game. Now, I have a few problems with this game. One is the memory card issue. I hate it. I hate it so much, any game that uses the memory cards. The second one is platforming. It's a first-person shooter, and it has these very precise platforming elements in it. And they're really not that easy. The shooting is fun, but sometimes I remember... I fell. I remember when I first started playing this game, and you're just getting used to the C button controls, and I'm right here in the first level, and now I have to platform. Now, this is obviously a Doom clone, and I think there were some jumps in Doom, but most of it you could run, you had to sprint across. Here you have to go and you have to jump, and you use your R button to jump, which really doesn't feel that bad. It doesn't feel that awkward now, but when you were first playing this game and trying to get used to the controls, it was really awkward. It was pretty terrible. And I remember just getting so frustrated. One of the first times I rented this game, I almost couldn't get past this platforming part. It seems silly now, but I couldn't get past it. And I almost, I think I did stop playing it. So, it is what it is. But like I said, it was kind of figuring out how to control a game And you go really fast, so you got to be pretty precise with those jumps too. It's just trying to figure it out. You know, that's why a lot of people either didn't like the Nintendo 64 or don't like going back to it now. They're just trying out. Where the heck did that guy go? Oh, there he is. I was gonna say, did he glitch? I always want to hit that B button to reload, but you don't need to. So now we're coming up to our first save point. I'm not gonna do it because, like I said, all my memory cards are actually full, and I don't want to waste any save spots for this game. Not that it's bad, but you'd save it there. We're just going to keep going. So like I said before, I wanted to get back to the exclusive Nintendo 64 thing. And this was quite a gory game. I mean, this is normal settings. I didn't play with anything, and as you shoot, blood just sprays everywhere. You know, and the people scream. It's pretty brutal. So, I don't know. It's cool that they had... I don't know, I can't see the rating. I'm assuming this was like teen or mature rating. Alright. No. Oh, I thought this was the cave segment. One of the things I realized way later that made this game so much easier is if you hit the L trigger, the L shoulder button, it turns on the map. And there's a few segments in the game where you actually have to navigate, and that helps so much. You almost don't even have to look. One thing I don't like is I don't think that you can switch. Yeah. Between the explosive shells or the tech arrows. This game too. I didn't know that. Huh. Play around with the controller. Where's some shells at? I love the single barrel or the pump shotgun. I always would switch to this. I don't know why. Even after you'd figure out how to get that auto shotgun, I love the pump. I just thought it was so much cooler. Sometimes the auto aim is a little bit difficult. It's still a little bit awkward, but... Ah, shoot. Ah! So you get keys. You get enough keys, you actually go to this fairly awkward hub world. And you oh, jeez. Got 1 health left. This guy didn't give me any health. You go to this hub world and you turn in your keys and you can unlock new worlds. Here's the spot that I was talking of. So you just, honestly, I had such a hard time navigating this, but you just put on your map and you just make, you just make your way through that. So, you guys have all played Turok before. I don't know how far you guys have got. Checkpoint. Look how far back I am. That's quite frustrating. I was quite far. And that's where it starts me back at? That's pretty crazy. It sucks. Anyway, you guys have all played Turok before, but... Oh no, I'm farther than I thought. But the reality of it is this, I feel, was a more important game than people give it credit for. Everybody played this. I think almost everybody really had this first game. It was pretty popular, it was pretty new. But the importance of the developers adding in where you use your C buttons to move like a second joystick, I really feel was a really important thing for Nintendo. Especially when they were figuring out these 3D world games like this, because a lot of times the camera was just the biggest problem, but now it gives us the ability to control the camera, and games are so much better for it now. So the game is fun, I enjoy it, but the reason why, like I said, the reason why I wanted to show you it, because I really think it was really innovative for this system. So there you go. Go back, play Turok. Maybe share your memories of Turok if you liked it, you enjoyed it. The first one was my favorite. I have the second one as well, but the first one will always be my favorite and the most fun to me. So anyway, hope you had a good time. Remember, Nintendo 64 Funtime. Always be gaming.